Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. Welcome to another episode of How to Do Watercolors with me. Today I'm going to do another Paris scene. Paris, every corner is painting waiting to happen. So like most of the paintings, I generally start with a value sketch. Also, help me out if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe, like, and then hit the notification button so that you don't miss another note. In terms of materials, this is a Saunders 300 grams paper. The colors and the brushes I use, I'm going to put in a couple of slides at the end of the video. And also, if you have any other comments, let me know. I'm more than happy to explain, or if there's any particular subject, I'm going to do that thing. So, value sketch. Probably this one, the image looks like a landscape, but I'm going to try to do it as just a center portion. So, a little more. So obviously that particular building is our subject. So I'm going to probably do, and the yawning in the front, I'm going to do that as red, which is what you'd expect. Is iconic Paris. So and it goes that way. So it's a funny looking building. Okay, and then also I'm going to do, there's a building which comes in, probably about that size. So always remember, perspective are important. So I'm going to come over here and probably there, and the building till here. I'm going to do that, and so, and again, these images are from Google Earth. It's easy to look for places where I've already been, and then I generally look for those things. So you can see a little bit from the top. There's another car. Sitting there, and series of, so 1, 2, 3 floors. So don't forget those details which make the city. And there's a lamp, probably till here. There's a shadow, and there's also shadow till up. Okay, so sorry, this building goes and that way. Okay, so that's my rough sketch just to give you an idea where and what I'm going to do. That's just a clear sky, but I'm going to do, that's my midtones. Okay, then there's also the shadow of that particular building. And a lot more darker shadow. and a couple of those, and some details, and shadow. Not to forget a couple of details, and its shadow going. The car shadow, it's important. And there's a lady, it's about everything but that height. And there's a guy over here. Okay, so the lady shadow and the guy shadow. So that probably is also, there's a pillar, the copper cladding on the top, and some windows are the details which are important. Okay. And not to mention, even though it's the same value, the red awning. And I will do a little more details inside, but that would be my drawing or my value sketch. So also I'm going to make sure the features, the zebra crossing and a zebra crossing over here, is added, and not to forget there's another zebra crossing over here. So probably I'm going to go a little slow just to make sure the features are there. And shadow, there's enough elements within that to make this an interesting painting. I think so. We'll see how it comes up. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to use that as a reference, and then let's crack on. Now transferring the value sketch into the actual paper. So I know the red yawning, that is the main highlight. So what I want to do is focus on that particular piece, maybe somewhere over here, and then build the building around that. Usually in the value sketch I did that building. I didn't worry too much about the people in the front, but for a painting, that is make or break. So what I'm going to try to do is create an island where the people's going to sit, stand, and then go from there. So let's see. So that's roughly, we're talking about, that's a road. Let's start with that Mini Cooper you see on in the front. So I'm going to use that as an indicator, and I'm going to start adding people around that. Just got a backpack, and then I'm going to do one more person walking slightly bigger. Probably we can make it a little more dynamic, so let's make him walking. And there's also another person standing here. This is about to cross. big backpack. And in the background there's a cafe. I'm gonna add more people. So that for me is where the yawning is. So roughly up there, and then we'll start building around that. So it goes over there and goes somewhere over there. Okay, so I'm going to do one more car in the background. See a little bit from the top, and I'm going to try to keep it simple enough. So that's where a lot of people are having their cup of coffee. There's maybe more people. Okay, and so we're looking at, and the guy is about to cross. Okay. Let's add that building. Somewhere about there. Maybe a little. Give a little more room for the footpath. Here. Oh, there's that line so that you don't get confused what I'm talking about. Okay, and over here, I'm going to add a couple more people in the backdrop, and that's where the footpath. And okay, so there's a little bit of greenery, and there's another building. That should be fine. I know there's two rows of cars, but I'm going to just do just one row. So there's 3 cars. There's a shadow. And that's a balcony. Then there's another balcony with a door. Roughly speaking. And there's also a little bit of, I want to add a little detail on the side. Okay, that one is interesting, and then also let's just add details. So the same height, a little bit of yawning. I'm going to put in the yawning over there. Actually, that's where the building sits. So the yawning needs to be here, not there. Okay. Probably want to add a little detail on this face. Okay, and let's add the light pole. Light pole is just about almost the second floor. Add some features. Not to forget the shadow. And also have this feature sticking right here. With a person walking. I think that's a nice feature to just add. Okay. Oh, then about the same rough height. And there's a door. I'm gonna add the window. And coming on the top, I'll add those features. Nothing fancy, but just enough to add little interest. Okay, couple more things not to forget is the zebra crossing, and also there's a zebra crossing over here. So pay attention to the perspective. So that's how it should be. Okay, so those three zebra crossings over here. It's exaggerated obviously because of the perspective. I'm not worried about this being too dark. I can manage, and I think that's a good enough scene. So I'm just gonna add one more layer. So there's window. I can manage those things as and when I add those things. So a yawning, a little bit of tree. I'm gonna ditch the cars. That is busy enough for painting. Okay, so we continue with the painting. So we got a sketch. As I mentioned, the perspective is very important. So I continue with a little bit of sky. The sky looks empty, especially in a cityscapes. Sky, a simple sky would be a better in my mind, as long as it's not conflicting with the painting. So I'm just cleaning up a little bit of palette. Maybe I'm going to use a little bit of cobalt blue, but there's too much of I don't want green in the palette. I'm just going to clean the palette a little bit. I don't mind grays, but and we have a cobalt, cerulean, very light. I'm going to go a little dark on the top. That's all the color I want to carry. And I'm going to just be careful. Careful-ish, not really careful, but just as long as come over here, flip the brush so that you can see the edge. I'm going to soak up excess water. Do the same. Okay, so the bead will come and collect. I'm going to just soak it up. And that's all I'm going to do with that one. So I'm going to do a little more yellow ochre. So I'm just going to clean a little more. I'm okay with grays. Also, usually it's a good thing to have your brush cleaned. I generally don't clean my brush, which I keep telling myself that I gotta keep my brush clean. I generally don't. Every time I start a next painting, I clean my brush. Okay, I'm just waiting for the bead to settle down. Okay, that's fine. Now, plenty of water. That's a color. It doesn't have to be exactly the same color, but some shade. And I'm going to go all the way till that. That's my first coat. And we're going to go a little more yellowish for the whole building. So slightly different tone on the back. But yellow. Okay, so the other side is yellow as well, but I'm going to just slightly change a little bit of red just to add a little more different texture. Okay, easy so far. It's nothing complicated, and I'm going to start doing a little bit of gray. All you can see, I'm just cleaning up the palette basically just to get that gray. So that area, I'm going to just use a smaller palette just to make sure I miss the human elements and the zebra crossing. So I'm paying attention not to paint in the whites. Okay, so I'll just drop that pen for a second. Come in a little more dark. Okay, I just want to make sure it doesn't dry off. I'm going to just hit it with a little bit of water. I don't want it to dry out. Okay, so that's going on. Okay, I'm just going to continue and complete that gray. I'm not particularly worried about the legs. I think it's just the body I wanted to retain the fresh colors. Oops, there is again zebra crossing, which I want to retain. It's a mix of, and I missed a zebra crossing here as well. There's plenty of zebra crossings. 3 zebra crossings. I just need to pay attention. Having that moisture, a little bit of spray bottle makes a big difference. So let's see. So that one is not. That one is. And that one. And there's that one. And nothing in particular over here. Just gonna come in. Okay. All right, that's the first wash complete. So I'm gonna slowly start building up. So I'm just touching to see if it's dry enough. That's dry. I'm going to add a little bit of patina or the copper. Iconic of a lot of old Paris building. And maybe a little bit okay. While I'm doing, I'm going to just do a little bit of the tree as well. Okay, so we're going to the next shade, a little darker. I'm going to just test it out on the edge of the paper. This is my kid's drawing, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to go with that particular color. Okay, and a little more yellow, but the same tone over here. Okay, that's fine. Now so the shadow, not to forget. So I'm going to do a rough line that it ends over here. Somewhere it carries on till there. A little more dark inside the sharps. And while it's wet, I'm going to come in, add that red, let it bleed in the paper, and I'm going to switch to the black. That's where the shadow stops. Okay. And I'll make that as a blue yawning. See if it bleeds a little bit. Okay. That's fine. Also, what I want is another layer of shadow here. So I'm just winging it. Okay. Okay. So that's about what we're going through, and let's start adding some details to the buildings, which we've gone through multiple times. So smaller synthetic brush, I'm using lots more pigment. In this case, I'm picking up some yellow ochre and going, and I'm mixing up with burnt umber, a little bit of burnt umber. So I can't see any building, but I'm gonna make that as the doors. And okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm just adding more and more details. There's a sign. I'm going to put in a little bit of balcony, and coming to this particular side. So there's plenty more buildings. I'm going to just do mix it up a little bit. As I get closer, I'm going to add a few more shades. Okay. And so the front of the facade, I'm going to just pay a little more attention. So the balcony. And one more. So a little more, and I just a few more details on this other side. Okay, so we're almost not enough details, but just enough details to get a feel for what type of building. Okay, so this one is slightly on the foreground, so I'm going to try to add a few more details in this one. And it's got some Venetian window. So that's a key feature. It's got some ornamental, and I repeat that. Okay. 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 And there's a little bit of a green design. And a little green tint window some sort. So I'm gonna okay, that's fine. And I'm just adding some details in the front. And we got some okay, a little more. Okay, that is fine. I'm gonna add, make that working at the moment. So we got a little lighter shade on the top. A little more darker on this side. And okay, so this one I'll pay a little attention to make sure the man in the red Okay. Red. Let it dry and I'll come back and then make it a little darker. Okay, now adding a few more people. Okay, so I start. Okay. Okay. Make it a go, just for convenience. And also, why I like drawing girls is I can do a slightly bigger skirt. Easier than pants and other details. So stylish shoes, and then maybe some purple bag. So a little bit of fur. And we'll try to add a little more feature. Okay. Okay. Okay, that one, that person is done. Let's carry on with other people. So I'm just paying attention to people who are standing in the front as the main people to focus on. And then I'm going to go with other people. So Okay, and we move on to other people. So we need a little bit of skin tone. I'm just trying to add a little red, blue, and yellow to get a little more red. If you don't know how to mix skin tone, have a look at another video I've done just to get quick tones. Okay. Okay. So I'm just working through slowly, adding a little more colors. There's nothing much to be said, to be honest. I don't know why I'm conscious about it. I'm not speaking anything, but I'm also trying to concentrate and not to screw up the painting. So the legs. Okay, so not to forget the shadows, which are very important. It makes a break. And not to forget a little bit of shadow over here. Okay. So let me add a couple of highlights over here. We've got a pillar. So it's got a design, and this pole has a design as well. Okay, so we are rapidly moving, and there's another table lamp. I might add another lamp here, and a post. Okay. Okay, now I'm just adding a little more details inside. First of all, I've missed is a shadow in that area. So we want to add some amount of shadow. Probably that is a little dark. I'm going to just lighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to brighten up these windows a little more and add some sort of sign. It's not there, but this adds that extra Paris creative freedom. Okay. I'm going to spray a little bit of water. Let's see what the painting wants to do. I'll let it settle down. Maybe not on the top. I'll let it go down. Okay. And I'm going to do some stuff on the other side. Okay. Same thing, a little bit of water. Tiny bit. I'll let it settle down and then see what it's going to do. Okay, so while that's going on, let's tackle the car. So I'm going to leave the top open, a little bit of light, front glass. I'm going to add a little tint of red on this side, just catching a little darker in the front. And the tire. Okay. And not to forget the all important shadow. We come and cover it. Not to forget a couple of wing mirrors. The wing mirrors went too big, so right, I'm gonna cut it and then bring it back a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to continue with the one in the back. We'll light the glass and the front bumper. Okay, so slowly that area is covered, and I'm gonna come to once it dries, I'm gonna just add a couple more highlights just to finish that area. Okay. And the same with the blue. Okay. I'll take a little bit of white. Okay. And I'll add a little bit of shadow. On that side. Also, these things are too dark, sorry, too light. I'm gonna lighten up a little bit, and that should do the trick. Okay, now while that one is drying, I'm gonna just use small rigger to add some awnings and apartments and other things. So it's a bit too much. Okay. Adding all those random small things. Okay. So a little more details of the guy. I think I'm gonna call it a quits, or add a few more details over here. This area looks okay. Maybe I'll add a hint of red. And what else am I missing? Oh, there's a street sign here as well, which is kind of important. So roughly about there. street sign, and then also there is a brown sign. Okay. Okay, so that's about the details I want to add. Little white for the sign, and maybe what I notice is that needs to be a little dark on that side. Light on that side. Okay. Okay. So a little bit of white. Sign. And not to mention a little bit of highlight on people. A bit of light. While I'm painting, I just noticed the footpath needs a little bit of shadow. And there are a couple of okay. Okay. There's a couple of people in the shadow walking around, and somehow feel this should be a little more darker, that front. I'm just making it a little more darker. Okay. All right. So help me out, subscribe, click like button, and then hopefully you keep painting, and then I see you the next time. Thanks. Bye.